Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome back to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. So we are trying to cover some practical aspects of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, every verse in Bhagavad Gita is uh, is very important, and from each verse in the Bhagavad Gita we can learn so many things. But here we are very high level overview we are trying to do of Bhagavad Gita, and we are trying to look at some some things that we can just use it in our day-to-day life, even for a new person, what we can pick it up from it, and then start using it in our day-to-day life. So we are already on chapter 9, which we talked about last week, that it is the most confidential knowledge. It is Raja Vidya, Rajaguhya Yoga. And we covered last week that Guhya means it is confidential, Guhyatara means more confidential, and Guhyatama means most confidential. And this is the most confidential knowledge. And for giving the most confidential knowledge, the Lord should have already spoken about the confidential and more confidential knowledge, which he has already done. In chapter 2, he has already talked about the soul, the difference between the body and the soul. In chapter 7 and 8, he has talked about uh, bhakti yoga, like the devotional service, which is considered guhyatara. And then guhyatama knowledge is the ananya bhakti. It is the pure devotional service that he's going to talk about, unalloyed devotional service that he's going to talk about in chapter 9. And that is why he's saying that this is the most confidential knowledge. And this confidential, more confidential, and most confidential, this definition is a little bit flexible. So, for example, when we go to chapter 18, he talks about a different knowledge as Guhya, Guhyatara, and Guhyatama. But the Guhyatama always remains like unalloyed devotional service. So, there he talks about the knowledge of Brahman is Guhya, confidential. Knowledge of Paramatma is Guhyatara, which is more confidential. And knowledge of him as Bhagwan and devotional service to him is Guhyatama. So, but here in this context, he's saying that the basic fundamental knowledge is the difference between body and soul. It is Guhya knowledge. It is confidential. Then knowledge of bhakti is more confidential, and knowledge of Ananya Bhakti is the most confidential. Then, after talking about this most confidential knowledge, he also mentions what is the qualification to receive this knowledge. And there were two factors which were mentioned as qualification for receiving this knowledge. Anyone remembers what were the two factors or the two qualifications for receiving the knowledge? Yes, so Vidushi Mataji.
That you have to be non-envious and you have to have faith in Krishna.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. So two qualifications which were mentioned by the Lord is that we need to be non-envious of Krishna. And we have to have faith in Krishna's words. And this faith is very important factor. In today's session, we'll try to see if you do not have faith, then you become a fool. And Krishna says that, oh, you're going to be a fool. So even though he has given the knowledge about him, if we do not understand that knowledge and we still consider him as an ordinary human being, then Krishna says that we are fools. And he even goes further and says that we are Duratmas. Anyway, we'll see that. So that is why this faith in Krishna's words is important. Then we saw in last session how the knowledge that he's going to speak about is so glorious. And we saw that it is Rajavidya. Rajavidya means it is king of knowledge. It is Rajaguhya. Rajaguhya means it is most confidential knowledge. Then it is Pavitram. Pavitram means it is purest form. It is very pure knowledge. Uttama means it is beyond the Tama. Tama means the material activities, or it is the mode of ignorance especially, but it is uttama means it doesn't have any ignorance. And we saw it is pratyaksha avagamam. Pratyaksha avagamam means we can realize this knowledge. If we implement it in our life, then we can realize it. So it is not that we have to actually just keep having just faith and have blind faith and just keep doing it whole of life without getting any realization. No, just little you do and you will get realization. Then you will be encouraged to more and then you will continue more. So that is how it can continue. Pratyaksha avagamam. And it is dharmyam. Dharmyam means it is perfection of religion. And susukham. It is very blissful and it is very easy to do. It is avyayam. Avyayam means we saw that it is eternally, it is everlasting. And then in verse 4 to 6, we saw that there are different inconceivable potencies which are there. So uh, let us look at the first 4 points that we saw as Krishna's inconceivable potencies. They were, he pervades the entire universe in his unmanifest form. All beings are in him, but he is not in them. So what it means is that we are all dependent on him, but he is not dependent on us. And everything does not rest in him. That means that we saw last week that he's aloof, so he's not getting involved in it. And uh, he's aloof from all material creation, and everything happens just by his will. So this is where we had stopped last week. And we had covered up to verse number 6. And verse number 6 was giving an example, which was just like in the Akash, um, in the sky, we have the wind which is going around, and the wind has the ability to go in different directions as per its will, but still it is contained within that envelope of the sky. Similarly, the living entity also has a free will, and we can decide what to do and what not to do. But still, it is within the modes that we have developed, the destiny that we have created, and the Krishna's the container that he has provided for us, just like the sky was the container for that example. So Lord has to sanction it. So he has created these rules, he has created this material world, and then he has given us the free will. And within that framework of the rules and regulations, we can act. And if we go against those those rules and regulations, then what happens? Then we have to get some punishment from Maya. And if we do follow the rules and regulations properly, then we can actually improve our consciousness. And if we are doing it very, very nicely, like we go beyond even mode of goodness to pure goodness, then we will even transcend the material world and go to the spiritual world. So that is what we have seen till now. So let us start with verse number 7. सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्. Who wants to read the translation? Yes, Vibhor Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So what is mentioned here now, till now he was mentioning that how he is maintaining everything. But now he has started explaining his relationship with creation and destruction. So what is he saying? He's saying, "O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all this creation that happens, sorry, at the end of the millennium, the material manifestations enter into my nature." That means the annihilation process is explained. And then he's saying at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So he's saying that the creation, destruction, and maintenance, all of that happen through me. He has already mentioned maintenance by saying that all beings are in him, but he is not in them, that they are all dependent on me. We are all dependent on the Supreme Lord, but he is not dependent on us. So the maintenance part he has actually explained. And now he is explaining the creation and destruction. Let us move on to the next one where he continues this topic. प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्रामम् इमं कृष्णम् अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात्. Yes, Shivani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
The
Krishna.
whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
Thank you, Mataji. So, someone may think that, oh, Krishna said that he's aloof. He's Parmeshwar, he's aloof. And so how does everything in the material world continue? Like if he's aloof, then this uh, creation, annihilation, maintenance should not happen, because an aloof person will not be interested in repeatedly creating, annihilating, maintaining, and all of that. So that is why Krishna explains that he's not directly getting involved. Who's doing that on his behalf? It is the material nature who does it on his behalf. And it happened just by his will. He says, just by my will. I only desire, I want to do this. And automatically it gets maintained, automatically it gets created, annihilated, everything that happens by his will. And he does not himself create or destroy anything, but the material nature acts on his desire. So let us, so what are some of the points that we have seen here? That at the end of the millennium, all material manifestation enter into his nature, and he creates everything again at the beginning of millennium. Tripti Mataji, you have some question or comment?
Yeah, why does he have that will to create and destroy again and again?
Yeah, good question. Why does he have to actually create and destroy again and again? So it is by our will that we have come here. So he has actually set some rules and regulations for it. And it is a cyclic nature of this material world where, for example, we actually also see this body. The material nature is by default, it is going to deteriorate over a period of time. So similarly, this body as well, it grows and then it starts deteriorating. So it is the nature of the material world that the Lord has created like this, that it creates and then finally it gets destroyed. And it is not a bad thing. Now imagine over a period of time we become so old that we can't do anything. And if there is no new creation at that stage, then it will become even more and more difficult for us, that the body becomes more and more older, and then we will not be able to do anything. So it is Lord's mercy that, okay, when it is actually, uh, it is so old for us, the body gets destroyed, and then we get a new body. And that is how it continues. Similarly, in the cycle of the time, if you see Satya Yuga, there are like the goodness is prevailing. And over a period of time, when it goes to Satya Yuga, to Treta Yuga, to Dwapar Yuga, to Kali Yuga, we see that the goodness actually slowly comes down. If you actually just continue like that, then it will be so hard for us to actually live in such a situation. So it is like our laptop also has this reset button. So Krishna has this reset button. So after some time, when he sees that, oh, it has become so downhill, it has gone so downhill in Kali Yuga. So at the end of that, he comes as a Kalki avatar and he just annihilates things. He just finishes it off and then he recreates thing again. But we don't learn from it. We again start deteriorating in our consciousness. So it is actually for our good thing that he actually resets the system for all of us to have the opportunity to go back. Otherwise,
Okay.
it will become so godless society in towards the end of Kali Yuga that there will be very few opportunities for us to go back. Whereas in Satyuga, there are lots of opportunities. So it is for our own good, just like this body gets destroyed and it gets created again. So Krishna wants actually us to go back. And
So
that is why,
we travel through different yugas as well, right, Prabhuji?
yes, we travel. If we do not go back, so
Yeah.
especially those of us, I was mentioning earlier, you remember that in
Mm,
those of us who are in Kali Yuga,
mm.
we are very, very unfortunate that we had opportunity to go back in Satyuga, we did not take it. Then it became little bit further, like the good people had already gone in Satyuga. And then the whatever were remaining, the good out of them have gone back in Treta Yuga. And then whatever were remaining, the better, like the little bit who were there, they had also gone in Dwapar Yuga. And all of us are remaining now in Kali Yuga.
We
So
are
we
the last benchers,
backbenchers.
backbenchers, yes.
Yeah. So now, at least it is beginning of Kali Yuga. It is not that bad. It is the best of the worst period. In Kali Yuga, the beginning period of 10,000 years in Kali Yuga, it is considered the golden period of Kali Yuga. If in this period also we cannot go back, then it will be very, very hard for us or anyone else to go back. People will still be able to go, but very, very rarely because it will deteriorate so much. So now is our opportunity that we have to take this opportunity and go back. And we are very fortunate. We will see how little bit further that we have got this association of some Mahatmas. Okay,
Thank you.
fine. Rama Prabhu
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. On
or
the
Rama
same,
Prabhu.
yeah, on the same note, Prabhuji,
Yeah.
when we are moving, my doubt is, sorry, Prabhuji, something happened to my.
You have forgotten your question?
No, Prabhuji, something happened to this one. Okay, still, okay, you are able to hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine, Prabhuji. So the question is, Prabhuji, is it like after every yuga, the cycle will be reset, right? So that means after Dwapar Yuga, entire humankind will be evacuated and the fresh batch will come to Dwapar
No,
Yuga.
no,
Or,
Prabhu.
okay,
No,
yeah,
it doesn't happen like the
okay,
every cycle of yoga, after that it gets reset.
okay,
Like that entire cycle is done. Actually, the annihilation happens at multiple level. So there
okay,
is annihilation. So there is annihilation happening every second. That something is getting destroyed. Like in our body as well, some annihilation is happening. Every second, these cells are getting dead and new are getting created. Then
okay,
some annihilation happens at the end of our body. So everything that we have created is gone and our body is destroyed and we go to the next level. So that is another annihilation that has happened. Then the annihilation happens, even partial one, which happens at the end of the cycle.
okay,
Then there is annihilation happens after every day of Brahma, like 12 hours of Brahma. After that, everything gets annihilated. And
understood,
then
Prabhu.
12 hours of night is there. And then after that, when Brahma's 100 years finish, then again everything again gets annihilated. So there are different levels of annihilation that happens, but the final annihilation is that at the 100 years of Brahma, then everything goes and everything comes.
Okay, understood, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So let us move ahead. We have covered till 8, so ninth verse. न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु. Who wants to read? Yes, Parminder Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. So even though the Lord is doing so many activities like creation, annihilation, maintenance, everything is he is doing, but still he's not getting any reactions for it. Why is that? So it is answered here that this work cannot bind me. Why it cannot bind me? I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as the neutral. So he's sitting as a neutral person, just like a judge is sitting. So judge, sometimes he is giving some good or bad judgment. When I'm saying good or bad judgment, that means sometimes he's giving some award to someone, and sometimes he's giving some punishment to someone. So uh, even though he's doing these activities, he doesn't get reaction for that activity because judge is sitting there neutral. He's not biased towards someone, and he's against someone, and that is why he's actually giving this judgment, hopefully. So if that is the case, if he's sitting as neutral, then any activities that the judge is doing like that, and any judgments that he's passing, because of his neutrality, because of his aloofness, he doesn't get entangled in the reactions of those activities. Similarly, the Lord also is explaining that because I'm sitting aloof, because I'm sitting here detached from these things, even though all these activities are happening under my jurisdiction, still by my will they are happening, by my desire they are happening, still I am not entangled in it. Earlier we saw in chapter, like from second chapter to sixth chapter as well, wherever we are talking about karma yoga, we are talking about how we get entangled in the reactions of our activities. It is because of the attachment that we create. And even though the material nature is doing the activity and the Supreme Lord is sanctioning it, it is still the reaction comes to the jiva or the living entity because it all originates from the desire of the living entity. So here, the the Supreme Lord is also saying that everything happens by my will. So we can say that it is my will means it is his desire. So it is happening by his desire, but still he is not bound by any of activities, is because just because he is sitting there aloof and neutral. So we have already taken this lesson earlier, so I have not put that again. But the lesson was that if we want to not get the reactions of the activities, then we have to be detached from the result of those activities. And if we are detached like that, then we will also not be entangled in our reactions. So the last point here on this slide, in this inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord, it is said that he is not bound by any of these activities and he's neutral. So the next verse is also related. So let us cover that verse and then we'll take one more lesson. So text 10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Who wants to read? Okay. It looks like, okay. Gunjan Mataji, you go ahead. And yeah.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is an important verse. The Lord is saying, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti. So Maya Drakshena Prakriti means the Lord is saying Maya means it is by me. Adhi means it is from above. And Aksha means eyes. So he's saying that the Prakriti is working under my eyes. That means he's supervising. So the Prakriti is working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So sometimes we think that, oh, Maya is very strong and it is probably the supreme. Even some of the impersonalists say that when the Lord comes here as Krishna and Rama, it is the absolute truth. He's covered by the material nature. So his body is material, they say. And that is how the absolute truth gets covered by Maya. So here it is clearly mentioned that it is not possible because the Maya is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Maya Dakshina Prakriti. So if it is under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, then the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord. It is not Maya is becoming supreme who can actually cover the Supreme Lord. So it is Maya Dakshina Prakriti. Under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, Maya is working, and then she is doing all these activities of creation and annihilation again and again. So that is what is mentioned. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving things. So Maya is all moving and non-moving things she is creating, and after creation, she is also maintaining and annihilating under the will of the Supreme Lord, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, actually he gives an example related to this. It is about King Ambarish. So when King Ambarish he was ruling the kingdom, he was also like very aloof. He was also very neutral. And all of his activities, like the governance and the management of all his kingdom, was done by his ministers. So the ministers were able to work and have had the power to actually rule the kingdom because the king was sitting on the throne. If Maharaj Ambarish was not there, then even though the same ministers who were governing before, they are trying to govern, it will not work because the king is required. When the king is there, then the ministers can actually rule on his behalf. But if king is missing, then the ministers cannot do anything. They do not have power to rule the kingdom. So the supervisor, so Krishna, his will and his supervision is required, and that is why Maya is able to do everything. Without the Supreme Lord, Maya cannot do anything. So this confidential knowledge Lord Krishna has shared with us, this Guhyatama, so most confidential knowledge the Lord is sharing with us here. And what is this Guhyatama knowledge here in these verses 4 to 10 that we have seen? The Lord has said, he has explained his inconceivable potencies. When I'm saying he has explained his inconceivable potencies, he had just trying to explain that we will not be able to understand it completely. So this is what he's trying to explain to us, that my potencies are inconceivable. So he's maintaining everything through his energies, he mentioned earlier. We are all dependent on him, but he's not dependent on us. And even though he's creating this, he's doing all these activities of creation, annihilation, and maintenance, he's still aloof from it. And the living entities are dependent on the Lord, and they are doing their own actions because of this free will that is there. We saw in that verse 6, in that sky and wind example. And everything is happening by Krishna's will, but no karma is binding him because he's sitting aloof, and the material nature is working under Lord's supervision. So we have seen these points as part of his opulence. So we can learn this important point, that Lord Krishna is inconceivable to our material senses. But by engaging our senses in his service, we will get purified and we can gradually understand who Lord Krishna is. So even though he is inconceivable, we can still utilize our senses in the service of the Lord. Then what will happen? The realizations that we are talking about will come to us. That pratyaksha that we were talking about, and that will come to us. And gradually we'll understand who Lord Krishna is. But the question comes, if we can understand who Lord Krishna is, then he doesn't remain inconceivable. Isn't it? Inconceivable means we cannot conceive, we cannot understand how great the Lord, the Supreme Lord is. But here I'm saying that once we get purified, we can gradually understand who Lord Krishna is. What do you think? Is there a contradiction here? Sudharma Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, by superficially when we see there is a contradiction. Because when Lord is inconceivable, we can actually do service only when we can perceive someone, right? So if you can't even see him, or like know if he is the inconceivable, then how you can do service to someone who is inconceivable? So that question may arise.
Yes, yes. Surananda Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Lord himself says his devotees can only understand him. So one goes to that level, so they will understand him.
Okay, so you're saying that because Lord has said that the devotees can understand, then even though he's inconceivable, we'll understand it. Okay.
Once you purify, yeah.
Okay. Uma Mataji, Vidushi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I heard in one lecture, I can't remember who the speaker was now, but in one lecture, the way we get close to understanding Krishna, his sweetness and his power increases even more. So that's why he's kind of inconceivable, because the minute we get a little closer to understanding, he already gets sweeter and his power increases. So that's, in a sense, not a contradiction, because that's one of the speakers said that. So
yes. So we cannot still understand Krishna, because he will become even more and more sweet. Yeah. Yes. Tripti Mataji.
Yeah, this is my understanding. It might be incorrect, but what I have understood is at one place it has been also said that I don't have any form. So if there is no form, it's left to us how we feel and how we perceive God Almighty. So that's where I come from.
Okay.
And
No, definitely Krishna has a form. That is Krishna's Bhagavan form. He came in his own form, right? So definitely that is there. Of course, he is also formless from the perspective that it is the effulgence that comes from his body. The Brahman is that formless absolute truth. But the origin of that formless, like the Brahman effulgence, is his body, which is the spiritual body of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Okay, Sudharma Mataji, you have further point?
Yes, Prabhuji, I just want to share, though, like in the first I said, like the contradiction is like because we're not able to see him, he's inconceivable, we are not able to render service, but we can see him when the Guru and Acharyas and the devotees engages in service of him. So that's how we get purified. So by reading the scriptures, we get the understanding. So we can see him through the scriptures and we can render service.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. So the
Sorry,
answer.
Prabhuji, I can't raise my hand. Can I answer if it's okay?
Oh, you are in darkness somewhere, Mataji. Nimi Mataji.
Sorry,
Yes, please
Prabhuji,
go ahead.
I'm just, it's always on Wednesday. I'm driving from Auckland to Hamilton.
Okay,
But
please go ahead.
is it okay? Yeah. So all I wanted to say, because we are doing Bhakti Shastri course and in Isho Upanishad, it was saying it's not a contradictory, it's a paradox, right? So he's not conceivable by our limited energies, but it's only through his mercy he will be conceivable. I think so. Yeah, it was a similar question, and that's what I thought. That it is not inconceivable to our limited energies, but with his mercy, he can be conceivable.
Yes, very good. So with mercy, what we can conceive, I'm going to reveal now the secret. So it is not a contradiction. So Lord Krishna is inconceivable, and it is said that even Balaram, who is like the Sheshanag, and he is with his unlimited hoods, he is glorifying the Supreme Lord. But by the time he has glorified, his glories keep on increasing. And that is why it is inconceivable. Even his first expansion, which is Balaram, he cannot even conceive that how great the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So what to speak of us who can, like, even if we are devotees or pure devotees, how can we understand Lord Shri Krishna? So what we are saying is, when we say that it is pratyaksha that we will get the self-realization. And what is that self-realization? We will realize that we are tiny and Krishna is unlimited. And with my tiny brain, I cannot understand Krishna. And this understanding is very important. This understanding that Lord Shri Krishna is Vibhu and I am Anu. And with this, my tiny senses, they are like this, my tiny senses, my tiny intelligence, my tiny understanding is not enough to understand the unlimited. is a realization. So we will realize that we cannot conceive Lord Shri Krishna. So that is the realization we will get by mercy or by everything that we are going through. That is what we will understand. Because in our materialistic world, we think that by studying or by with my power or with my abilities, I can do everything. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. That with my abilities, I will be able to do everything. That this thing that we have in our mind, but the realization will come to us by the mercy, also by this purification process that will happen, that yes, Lord Shri Krishna is beyond all this, and I cannot understand him. Even Lord Brahma couldn't understand Lord Shri Krishna. He also got bewildered by his inconceivable potencies. So, what to speak of all of us who are much, much lesser intelligent than Lord Brahma? But then he got the realization that the Lord is inconceivable, and then uh, he continued to worship. Of course, he's a devotee, and because he just temporarily got bewildered, so he's a very exalted devotee. And just to explain to all of us that even Lord Brahma can get bewildered, what to speak of all of us. So that is how we can understand that what kind of realization we are going to get. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes,
Fine.
Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So let us move ahead. So now what happens if we do not realize this, that Lord Shri Krishna is unlimited, Lord Shri Krishna is having inconceivable potencies, and we are very tiny. What happens if we do not understand this? And then that verse comes which I mentioned earlier, where Krishna says that you will become a fool. Let us look at that verse, 11th verse. अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावम् अजानन्तो मम bhutamaheshwaram. Yeah, Geeta Jayanti Mataji, please go ahead. And then
Hare
Surananda
Krishna.
Prabhuji, you can do.
Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be.
Thank you, Mataji. So Lord Shri Krishna is saying that fools deride me. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. So when the Supreme Lord appears in his human-like form, like he comes like as Lord Shri Krishna, he comes as Lord Ram, then these fools think that he is like an ordinary person. They don't understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. So Lord Shri Krishna has already leaked the paper. He has already said that this is the most important question. When the exam is coming near and when the teacher says in the class, this is very, very important question, then we will actually mark there VVIP. At least I used to mark it because that means that that question is coming into the exam. So similarly, Krishna has leaked the paper already. He has said, this is the most important information, the knowledge that I am giving. And he has already explained his inconceivable potencies. And in the 4th chapter as well, he has said that Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So at that time as well, he said that Janma karma, my appearance and activities, they are transcendental. And those who understand that, they will never come back to this material world. But after explaining all this Guhyatama knowledge about his inconceivable potency, some people, they still don't understand it. And why they don't understand? Because they lack the qualification which was mentioned previously. Because they are envious of the Supreme Lord, or they do not have faith in the Supreme Lord's words. So they are still having a doubt. Kare, the Lord has said there, but the faith is not there because of that they are still having a doubt that maybe that is not true. So and then what happens is then they think that the Lord has taken a human form. He doesn't have a transcendental form, and they are like mudhas. They are like foolish people. What happens to it? What is the result? if you think, the 4.9 explains what is the result of those who understand the form and appearance, sorry, the appearance and activities of the Lord are transcendental. Here it is mentioned what is the result of those who do not understand the that the Supreme Lord's appearance and activities are transcendental, and they think that he has appeared in a human form and the absolute truth is got covered by Maya. So what happens? What is the result? Let us look at that. मोघाशा कर्माणो मोघज्ञाना विचेतसः राक्षसीम् आसुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रितः. Who was next? I think Surananda Prabhuji, you had raised your hand, right, for reading earlier? And I think I
Yes,
saw
Prabhuji.
Sudhama Mataji as well had raised once in between. So if you are still keen, then you can read up the next verse. Surananda Prabhuji.
Okay. Those who are thus bewildered or attracted by demonic or and atheistic views, in that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated.
Look at that. So everything is going downhill here. Their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and what else? And their culture of knowledge are all defeated. That means they are going down. They are remaining in this material world. They are going in this cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. And everything is destroyed for them. And uh, we may think that, oh, it is unfair, but it is not unfair. Krishna has already mentioned again in the 4th chapter, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. As you surrender unto me, I will reciprocate with you accordingly. So if you think that Lord Shri Krishna is having material body, Krishna says, okay, I'll give you material body. If you understand that Lord has inconceivable potency, he has a transcendental form, Krishna says, okay, I'll give you a transcendental form. You are fit for coming to the spiritual world. Otherwise, you are thinking that my form is material. That means your consciousness is still about all material things. So you are fit for remaining in this material world. So that is how he is reciprocating. So that is how we have seen. We want to actually talk about Mahatmas in the next 2 verses, but let us see. Tripti, Mataji, you have some question here?
No, I'll park it for later, or I'll do the WhatsApp, Prabhuji, because it'll take the discussion back. So.
Okay, backwards. Okay, towards the end, if we have time, then we can again take that question. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So let us read the next 2 verses, and then we will see a comparison between Duratmas and Mahatmas. Okay. So these 2 verses, 11th and 12th, have talked about the Duratmas. Now we will look at the Mahatmas, the 13 and 14 verse. Verse number 13. Mahatmanastu mam parth daivim prakritim ashritah bhajantya ananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Let us read the next one as well, which is a very famous verse. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drudhavratah namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Yes, Uma Mataji.
Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, going down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So these 2 verses are explaining the Mahatmas. So verse number 13 is explaining those who are not deluded. Not deluded means they are not understand. They have understood that the Supreme Lord is, when he appears in this material world as well, he comes in his transcendental body. He's not getting covered by Maya or anything. So they are not deluded like that. They are not bewildered like that. The great souls, they are great souls. They are Mahatma. So they are great souls. And they are under the protection of the divine energy, divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So they know that He's the original Supreme Lord. He has come directly here. So they are not thinking that so that He's getting covered by Maya or He's just some superhuman, that He's just an ordinary person with some superhuman abilities. They do not have any such misplaced understanding. They know for sure that, okay, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is coming in his transcendental form. His activities are also transcendental, and that is how they are differentiated. And uh, this next verse as well, Satatam Kirtayantama, let us look at this difference and then we will talk about that. So first, Duratmas in these first earlier two verses that we saw. What are the what is mentioned about the Duratmas? So they deride the Lord when he descends in the human form. And they do not know the transcendental nature of the Lord. So all these inconceivable potencies that Lord has mentioned in the 9th chapter earlier, so they do not understand that. And that is why they are bewildered. They are attracted by demonic and atheistic views, and their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge, they are all defeated. Now, in comparison to that, Mahatmas, they are situated in the protection of the divine nature. So earlier, these people were bewildered and they did not know. That means they were under Maya. But divine nature means they are under Yoga Maya. They does not divert their attention to anything outside of Krishna. So they are completely focused on Krishna. So that is what it was mentioned. They are fully engaged in devotional service. In the earlier verse, 13th verse, it was mentioned. They are fully engaged. And this verse, very, very important verse, 14th. So what is mentioned? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya drudavata namasyantasya mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So satatam and nitya, it is like repetition which is mentioned. Then there is also a repetition of mam. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Then namasyantasya mam bhaktya. So the Lord is repeating about that. He's saying that you have to worship me. And the repetition generally is given for putting some emphasis. Otherwise, they in the Sanskrit verses, they will not generally repeat these things. So it is to emphasize that these activities that the Lord is mentioning, they are supposed to be performed for Krishna only and no one else. So that is why he's emphasizing on Mam. And then what kind of activities? So these Mahatmas, what are they doing? They are Satatam Kirtayanto. So they are always engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord. And all those who are chanting the 16 rounds every day, they know it is hard. Even though it doesn't take a long time, it is still hard. So that is why it is mentioned that they are endeavoring with determination. Determination. Yatantasya drudha vrata is required. Drudha vrata means they have taken this vow that, okay, I will continue no matter what. So they are endeavoring with great determination. So these Mahatmas as well, it is, of course, they are pure devotees. So they effortlessly do this. But they are endeavoring with great determination. That their determination is fixed that I will be always chanting Krishna's name. I will not go on the Maya side. So that is why that great determination and endeavoring is required. And always bowing down before me. Namasyantasya mam bhaktya. And nitya yukta upasate. Perpetually worshipping Krishna with devotion. So many times the devotees say, whenever they are new to Krishna consciousness, they say, Prabhuji, where in the Bhagavad Gita it is written that we should chant 16 rounds? Here, Krishna is saying, don't chant 16 rounds. Krishna is, if you actually leave it to Krishna, he said, Satam Kirtayantoma. He is expecting that we should all chant 24/7 Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yatantasya Drudavrata. And no matter what our deviation like that, he's saying that no, you have to endeavor with great determination. and you have to bow down before me, and Nitya Yukta, perpetually you have to worship. So Satatam means 24 hours. Perpetually means every day, 24 hours you have to keep doing it. So Krishna's expectation is Satatam Kirtayantoma. It is Srila Prabhupada's mercy that Srila Prabhupada said, okay, minimum 16 rounds every day you chant, and then that is counted as your Satatam Kirtayantomam and Yat Nitya Yukta Upasate. So still, Satatam and Nitya means it has to happen every day. Every day you have to do it. If you do it every day, then you are a Mahatma. And for doing that every day, that endeavoring with great determination is required. Without Drudha we cannot continue it. So if we want to become a Mahatma, then this is an important factor. If we really want to progress on this spiritual path of Bhakti Yoga, then we have to take this Dridha of chanting a fixed number of rounds every day. And slowly we have to progress towards chanting minimum 16 rounds every day. So in the beginning, it is very hard to actually start because that Dridha that if it was easy, it wouldn't have been mentioned that you have to endeavor with great determination, right? That is why don't start with 16 if you cannot do it. Start with 4 rounds every day. Chant every day 4 rounds, and that is your Satatam Kirtayantoma. And then slowly you progress towards increase your rounds, but with Dridha Vrata. Dridha Vrata means don't go down. That today 4, then tomorrow 2, then next day 0, and then next day again 6 rounds or whatever like that. You can increase, but you cannot decrease. That should be your Dridha Vrata. If we do like this, then we will progress in Krishna consciousness. We will never be deluded like the Duratmas are getting deluded. We will remain in the Mahatma category, and uh, we will progress towards Krishna, and then Krishna will take us back to Godhead. And yeah, mainly we will become over a period of time, if we continue like this, we will become pure devotees by the mercy of the Srila Prabhupada. Is that clear? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
We will take one more verse and then we'll open for some questions or comments. So we are on verse number 15 now. Jnana yadnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pruthatvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Someone who hasn't read yet?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many, and in the universal form. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So in the purport, so actually here in the verse, there are 3 kinds of practitioners are referred to. Ekatvena, Pruthatvena, and Vishwatomukham. So there are 3 kinds of practitioners which are mentioned here. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes little bit further. And he is actually classifying the Mahatmas which were mentioned in the 2 verses. So he's saying there are 3 levels of Krishna worshippers. The topmost Krishna worshippers are the Mahatmas, which were just mentioned in the previous 2 verses. Then in the 7th chapter, if you remember, we had these 4 kinds of people who take to Krishna consciousness: Artha, Arthartha, Jigyasu, and Jnani. And there as well, there were 4 kinds of people who were not taking Krishna consciousness. So those are like those Duratmas which are there. So we were talking about earlier in the last session that 7th chapter and 9th chapter, they have these parallel themes. So there as well, we talked about those 4 kinds of people who take and doesn't take Krishna consciousness. Here as well, the Lord has talked about Duratmas and Mahatmas. So anyway, so coming back, there are 3 levels of these Krishna worshippers. The topmost are the Mahatmas. Then the second level down are those 4 kinds of people which were mentioned there. The Artha, Artharthu, Jigyasu, and Jnani. And the three kinds of jnanis which are mentioned here, Ekatvena, Prathaktvena, Vishwatomukham, are the third level. And in that third level as well, these three are, they can be put into a particular level. So Ekatvena means a person who is a monist. Monist means he's thinking, worshipping himself as one with the Supreme Lord. So he's thinking that I am supreme, you are supreme, everyone is supreme. And once we actually give up this, Maya has covered us, and once we get purified of Maya, then we come to this stage of godliness. Actually, they don't think godliness, they think that we become God. So that is like the activity of a monist, or this level of worship is monist. So out of these three levels that we talked about earlier, Mahatmas, then Sukritinas, and then the three kinds of nannies, this one, Ekatvena, is the lowest of that. Of the third level, he is the lowest. Higher than that is the worshipper who is worshipping this Lord in Pruthaktwena. Pruthaktwena is demigod worshipper, Devata worshipper. He is situated higher than that. He's thinking that the Lord is appearing in a different form. And you would have heard of that from other people. All of these devatas, they are all the same. Why are you differentiating between them? They are coming in this Pruthaktwena category. They are thinking all these devatas are the supreme. And you can choose any one of them and worship them. So that is the Pruthaktwena. They are higher than Ekatvena, but they are in the lowest category, remember. And then the higher of the three, Ekatvena, Pruthaktwena, and Vishwatomukham, is the Vishwatomukham, where they are worshipping the Lord in his universal form. In the material nature, they are seeing everywhere the appearance of the Supreme Lord, and they are worshipping him as in the universal form. And Lord Shri Krishna will explain these people even further, like the Vishwatomukham, like the universal form, he will mention in 16th to 19th verse, and the Devata worshipper, he will explain in 20-25. He has Ekatvena, he has already mentioned in 11 and 12, which was the monists which were mentioned there, and they are called fools, and they say it was mentioned that they deride me. So we will talk about them further. So we will pause here, and if there are any questions, comments, or reflections, then we can take them now. Okay, so there are three questions in line. Okay, or questions or reflections or summary points, everything is welcome. Sudharma Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
have a question, Prabhuji, just
Yes.
regarding the 9.15 verse.
Yeah.
So, Ekatvena, when they say monis, that is about the Mayavadis, right, Prabhuji?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The next is the demigod worshipper, and then the universal form, worshipping him as a universal form, as a or in the nature, seeing him in the nature, right?
Yes.
But these are not the highest. Like though the hierarchy has been given, devotees are or worshipping in his personal form is the highest.
That's correct.
Okay.
They come in Mahatmas.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Okay, Prabhuji.
Even the practicing devotees are practicing Mahatmas. No, they are not we are not Mahatmas, but actually what is mentioned is that at least we are worshipping the Supreme Lord. We understand that we are living entities. The Lord is supreme, and we are his servants. He is our master, and we are practicing. Even though we have not fully realized it, that is our goal. That is our goal, that we come to that stage that we have complete faith and complete love for the Supreme Lord. So we are in the direction of becoming a Mahatma.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Mahendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Going back to this start of the session, verse 7, 8, 9, where you mentioned about annihilation, and then about this Brahma's one day. So it's like I was reading the purport, it mentioned 4.3 billion earthly years is Brahma's one day. So just out of curiosity, what happens in Brahma's night time? Do all the souls they get liberated at the end of Brahma's day? And if the same souls are appearing on his next day, then same incarnation, same journey, same processes, do they like
Yeah.
happen exactly the same way?
No, no.
What kind of changes take place? Yeah,
Yeah,
just
good point,
curious.
Prabhuji. So it is not that after Brahma's day, the 12-hour finishes, everyone that is there, they don't get liberated, Prabhuji. They just go into the hibernation. And then those who are not purified, they will not go back. Those who are purified, they will go back. But those who are not purified, they will just go into hibernation and they will come back as living entities in different, depending on their desires, they will take the forms again when the creation happens again. So that is how it will happen.
Okay, so
And
during, sorry.
at the time of 100 years, so those who are progressing one step at a time, so we talked about that how we have these higher planetary systems. So we have earthly planetary system, then Bhuloka, which is earthly planetary, then Bhuvarloka, then Swargaloka, then Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka. And the sages who are doing a lot of austerity and they are improving their consciousness, so they are actually progressing from one planet to another, like the level to another, like that. And those who are at the Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka, these sages are living the same like that life of Brahmaji. So Brahma's 100 years. There is a trillions, 311 trillion year, 40 billion years, what Brahma lives from our calculation. These people are also living that much. And at the time of Brahma's 100 years, these people will get liberated because they are at that level that their consciousness is now coming to that stage that they can go back to the spiritual world. So only those people from those Janatapa and Brahmaloka, at the end of 100 years of Brahma, they will go back to Godhead. But the remaining, which were in the lower planetary systems, including the 7 planetary systems which are below earthly planets, which is the Pataloka, Rasatala, and Atala, Vatala, Sutala, all of those, they will, and including the people on Bhu, Bhuvar, and Swarga, including Maharloka as well. So what will happen is they will get into that hibernation. And then when it gets created again, depending on their previous desires, they will again, first the creation will happen, and then they will be again injected as living entities and they will come back.
Okay, Prabhuji. So the hibernation period, Prabhuji, is that Brahma's one night period. Is the
One
hibernation
night,
period.
12 hours, they will just go into hibernation and then
Okay.
come back.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Just one quickly thing from my end, Prabhuji. A lot of questions, a lot of foolish questions, I guess, were asked from my side as well. Like at the start of our sessions when we started 1 year back. But I understand your point now when you were mentioning like it's all covered in like future sessions in chapter 9, chapter 7. So all those answers are coming along. Krishna himself like mentioning so many answers with his own words. So that's great, great learning, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
very nice. And no question is foolish. If we do not ask the question, then we remain foolish.
Cool.
So
Hare Krishna,
it is
Prabhuji.
good to ask the question, and
Yeah.
that is then we can actually get the answers, and we can remove our doubts. And when the doubts are removed, we can progress in our Krishna consciousness faster.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Trupti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm feeling like a fool. As you mentioned, you should not feel, but I'm falling into the category of Duratma kind of thing. Oh, I don't know what is a transcendental form. I have never experienced it, but I am still in the journey. But my question, I have two questions. One is when he came in the transcendental form, in Krishna avatar, he was having a Sham rang, whereas in Rama avatar, he had a Shwet rang. So is transcendental form different? And during that yuga, people of various kinds who have faith in him and who don't have faith in him, both existed. So could they see the transcendental form during that time as well, apart from their Sham and Shwet Varnan? Or so that's one question which I
Okay,
had.
no, that's good. We will just answer this first and then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
So actually Krishna has different forms. So Krishna, as a supreme personality of Godhead, he has an original form, which is Krishna's form. When he comes as Krishna, that is his original form. And he has expanded himself and he has taken many other forms. Like he has taken a Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar, then he has taken the Rama avatar. All of these avatars he has taken. Narsimha avatar. Then sometimes he only gives his fraction of his potency or shaktis into someone. That he has given this shakti um, to Narad Muni. He has given Shakti to Prithu Maharaj. So they are also considered as the incarnation or Shaktyavesha avatars of the Supreme Lord. So depending on how much potency he has invested in them, they are either Shaktyavesha avatars or they are the partial manifestations. But when Krishna comes himself, then we say Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is a complete Purna Purushottam Bhagavan, it is mentioned. So when Krishna comes as Krishna, that is his original form, and then he has these expansions which will look different. For example, Krishna's first expansion is Balram. And when he came as Krishna, his original form, which was bluish color, which is like the dark rain cloud, that kind of a color. But his expansion, Balram, he came in a white body. And the same Krishna, when he came at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had a golden body. And when he came as Lord Ram, it is actually said that he has a greenish body. So all of these forms are different, and Krishna actually takes all of these forms so that different people gets attracted to different kind of forms as well as different kinds of behavior. So I was just last week or last to last week, I was talking to someone at the temple, and a similar kind of question was asked. So I gave an example of Amitabh Bachchan. And I said that, say, suppose when Amitabh Bachchan came into one movie as Coolie, and in the next movie as well, he becomes Coolie, and the third movie as well, he becomes Coolie, and the fourth movie as well, he becomes Coolie. Then those people who did not like his Coolie avatar, they will not go and watch the next movies, saying that, "Arey, ye Coolie mujhe pasand nahi aaya." So that is why when sometimes he comes as Coolie, sometimes he comes as whatever that Amar Akbar Anthony, sometimes he comes as Shahenshah, sometimes in some other form. And then someone will say that, Arey, I did not like Coolie, but that Anthony was good. Or someone will say, oh, that Shahenshah was good. So they finally liked Amitabh Bachchan, right? In whatever form. So similarly, Krishna comes and does his pastimes in different forms. And his only purpose is that he has to attract us. And some people will get attracted to Krishna's form, some people will get attracted to Narsimha's form, some people will get attracted to Varaha form, some will get attracted to Narada's form, or whatever, like different Shaktavesha avatars, or Kala avatars, or Amsha avatars, or Purna Purushottam avatars. All of these avatars, he comes to show some pastimes which are glimpses. He's giving us the windows to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada used to call these as windows to the spiritual world. All these pictures uh, which are drawn uh, of these different leelas, they are like windows to the spiritual world. We look at that and we think, oh, window se to acha lag raha hai. Yeah, it is looking beautiful. Let us go inside and see what else is happening. So that is why the Supreme Lord comes in different forms and performs different leelas so that we can get attracted. If not this form, then some other form, then some other form. But finally, if we get attracted to any form of the Supreme Lord, then we can go back to Vaikuntha or Goloka, like that is spiritual world, and we can serve that form there. So that is why he takes different forms. Is that okay?
Yeah, but when we said that, when you said that he came in his transcendental form, original transcendental form, nobody has seen that except for people who have really, like Arjuna has seen it when he said the words that this is my avatar in chapter 12, whenever it comes later on. So, but nobody else has seen it, or people might have seen it, but they don't remember it, or
Yeah.
they have already gone back to
Yeah,
serve
good
him.
question. So when he came as Krishna, he was going around everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
everyone was seeing his transcendental form. But there was difference. Like when we see something good in someone, we talked about earlier when we were talking about envy, that when you are a good friend of that person and he's looking very nice or he has done something good, we will immediately say that, wow, my friend is so amazing. Look at him. He's looking handsome. He's so wonderful or whatever. But those who are envious of him, he'll say, hmm, he has put a lot of too much makeup or he has done this or that or whatever. So in something good as well, we'll find something bad, and that is a reflection of our own mind. So even though the Supreme Lord came and he was in front of everyone, Pandavas identified because they were having faith in Krishna's word. They were not having envy in their heart for the Supreme Lord. So that is why they could understand him. But Duryodhana, the same Supreme Personality is in front of him. He tried to uh, kill Krishna. So this is the difference because it is the envy and a lack of faith which actually differentiate us uh, from either we are devotees or against devotees, against the Supreme Lord. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
My second question is already answered.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone wants to cover any reflections or any summary points about today's session before we close today? Anyone who hasn't spoken yet today wants to? Okay, Surananda Prabhu. Okay, you have raised your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, Prabhuji. So today we learned about some more inconceivable potencies of Krishna. So in 9.7, he is aloof from all the material creation and everything happens just by his will. And from 9.8, at the end of the millennium of material manifestations enter into his nature, and he creates everything again at the beginning of millennium.
Okay, very good.
And in addition, Prabhuji, if you want to progress on this path, take that Drid Vrat to continue in your chanting.
Yes, our sadhana has to continue
Sadhana.
with a Drudha Vrata.
Yeah.
Drudha Vrata chahiye. Yes, very good. What else? Yes, Sudharma Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. We said like he creates and annihilates the creation, cosmic manifestation, but he's still very detached from it and nothing actually binds him. And still the nature is actually working under his supervision. So Maya is under his control. So the learning is like we have to engage by engaging our senses, senses in the service. Though he is inconceivable, we can realize him. But if we can't have that realization, then he talks about the fools. Like if we don't have that realization, those are the fools because they are envious and they have no faith in him. So
Yeah.
they have no hope for liberation, for fruitive activities, the culture of knowledge, everything is defeated. So though we may think this is unfair, but it is not, because as we surrender unto him, he actually rewards us.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Geeta Jayanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So we also learned about the differences between Duratma and a Mahatma today. And the main ones were that the Duratma is normally bewildered, and he derides the Supreme Personality of Godhead as as another ordinary person, whereas a Mahatma takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of the of God, and yeah, around those lines, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Any other points which are remaining? Anyone wants to share anything further?
About that, there are three types of worshippers: Mahatma, second one is Krishna, and third one is Akatvain, Prakatvain, and Vishwatama.
Yeah, very nice. Very good. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Hare Krishna.